Brilliant cold calling still adheres to the 4C's model like almost every other part of the brilliant sales process. Number 1 is you have to connect. Number 2, consult. 3, convince. 4, confirm. Let's look at these within the context of a sales prospecting or cold call. So the first one, connecting, is about rapport and indeed acceptance to continue with the rest of the call with a reasonably open mind. So you have to announce yourself clearly and precisely. You have to sound as if you are somebody of value and you're not just reading out a script or desperate to make a sale. Sound as if you are almost like an advisor or a consultant, an equal of the person you're calling. Imagine that they have inquired about your service via email or left a message for them to call you. You would have a very much more confident, positive voice tone. The first thing you should do is to try and really listen to their voice and how they're speaking. Pacing somebody's voice tonality and word usage is a key aspect of getting rapport. So this is clearly something you want to learn how to do. Your worry might be, well, won't they detect that I'm copying their voice? Unlikely, unless you exaggerate it or they have a very distinctive voice. Let's look at some safe areas that you can mimic or match quite easily. The first one is the volume. Do they speak loudly or softly? Do they talk slowly or quickly? Always try and speak at the same rhythm and volume of your customer or person on the other end of the phone. Listen to the vowel sounds and how they pronounce certain vowels. Listen to their intonation, their way of expressing themselves using their voice. Does it have a lot of variation to it, or is it rather flat? Do they have a rather serious mood, or is it something which is much more relaxed? So these things you need to tune into quite quickly. And you can often detect this almost instantly somebody answers the phone. The consulting phase you move into quite quickly. You can sometimes link between one to the second by asking if it's okay to ask you a few questions. Or I'd just like to check one or two things first. And then you would do like a mini qualification of that person and whether they are the right person to be speaking to. Is this something you would look after? Are you responsible for this? Those kind of things. So the questions need to be structured in a way that will move you towards gaining an appointment in some way. Now you'll see later in the notes, one of the things I suggest is not to ask for an appointment outright, but rather suggest an appointment based on the information that you've gleaned from them or discussed in some way. So for example, if you ask them, do you have any plans to make additional changes in this area in the next 3 to 6 months? And they say, yes, we are considering that. And you say, what would be the primary drivers for that decision? And they might say, well, to try and reduce costs and improve productivity. Then you can then match that to a convincing statement, which would need to be credible, and then say, and on that basis, maybe it would be a good idea if I perhaps sent you some information, or maybe we could get together and discuss this in more detail. So that kind of approach. So you're linking your objective with a potential need or requirement or area of interest that you've uncovered through the questioning. And we'll discuss potential questions later. You move through to convincing, where you want to give the reasons why they should meet with you or continue on to the next stage in your sales process, whether that's a webinar, sending an email, attending a meeting, and so on and so on. The confirmation should be two things. One may be a close, a commitment to get that appointment, or perhaps a summary of what you've discussed and what you will do next, if it's, for example, phoning them back, sending more information, and so on and so on. Now, the commitment, the close, a nice bridge to that is you expressing the perhaps benefit of getting together and then saying, it would be great if we could meet up. Do you have your diary to hand? Now, this is a kind of a simple, almost assumptive close, and that they will reach for their diary and you ask for some commitment in the future. And we'll come on to that in a moment. So these 4 C's, the sequence is important. Once you've got rapport, don't simply go into convince mode and then go to close. When you've got rapport, don't simply try and get an appointment. Match the volume, match the pace, move into questions, listen carefully, probe those questions, turn them into a reason to meet, gain a commitment of some kind or form, even if it's for a future commitment, and move off the phone. These are the 4 C's, and have been proven to be very effective in any kind of sales, but particularly in sales prospecting.